Hello out there once again to all my fellow Fix employees. Welcome back to another episode of How to Satisfactory 1.0. This is my brand new Let's Play series that's also more of a tutorial and guide for new players to the game. If this is the first episode you're watching, I highly recommend starting from episode 1 so that you get a clear idea of how things have progressed so far and where we're at currently. Today's episode is CATERIUM, that gold-looking electrically conductive material that we're going to use to research some new electrical tech that's super useful. Now, if you recall, we did pick up about 4 stacks of CATERIUM in the last episode. I threw mine into our storage box right here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab all of that. Let's head over to the MAM, and we go into here, and we have a whole new category here for CATERIUM. Let's click on that. And what we're going to do is unlock the very first 2 here. The first one is going to be scannable CATERIUM. So by unlocking this, we are then going to be able to scan for CATERIUM. By holding down V, choosing CATERIUM, letting go, and boom. It's going to send out that signal until it locates a ore node and then tell us exactly where it is, including if we hit M, we can see that on the map. And something I didn't actually realize is that it's actually color-coded on the map itself. So these green ones are actually pure nodes. After researching the first one, the next one down the list is going to be CATERIUM ingots. We're going to definitely need these in order to make anything else. So let's go ahead and research that. It's going to cost us another 50 CATERIUM ore. Next one down the list is QuickWire, and in order to unlock QuickWire, we need 50 CATERIUM ingots. However, we don't have the ingots just yet. We need to be able to smelt those. So the good idea is probably set up a smelting system somewhere here in our factory. But before I do that, what we're going to do is let's go ahead. We also have a few of the hard drives right here that we collected in the last episode. So let's go ahead and start a scan on one of those since they take about 10 minutes or so. Now let's go all the way down here to the end of our iron factory down here, and let's just set up a quick smelting system down here just to do the CATERIUM. Let's start with a smelter itself. I'm going to go ahead and lock the hologram into place by hitting H, and then let's try to figure out where we want to do this here. So I think our input would probably be best on the back, so let's place this back here a little bit let's get that probably right about in the middle there. Or at least have the middle bar right there, kind of right before the middle of these 2 foundations. I think that'll work just fine right there. Place that down. Let's go into organization and grab the storage container. Let's place this next to it with the output behind us right there towards the north. We'll kind of line these up on the back side right here. That looks about right there. Let's go ahead and run a conveyor belt from the smelter to the box by hitting R to make that straight. Let's go ahead and run a conveyor belt from the storage container into the smelter. Make sure you have straight mode on by hitting R. We'll throw all of our CATERIUM ore that we have left into the storage container. We do need to set up some electricity to the smelter though, so I'll grab a power pole. I'll hold it on the power line we have coming down through here, click once, and then I can place it down where I want. Let's see, right about there's a good spot. And it's going to be connected right to the wire already. We just have to then connect the smelter to the power pole. And then configure the smelter to make CATERIUM ingots. Fantastic, now we are smelting the CATERIUM ore into CATERIUM ingots, but we still got some time left before our hard drive is going to be done. So let's use this time to head back over to our CATERIUM ore node that is down over there to the west. We'll go ahead and grab another 4 stacks while we're over here. Then we're going to head back to our main hub by going straight east from here instead of up the way we went before. We can use taking this route in order to grab some extra biomass, some leaves, and some wood that is easily and readily available here. There's plenty right over here by the crash site that we didn't get before. And we're going to continue until we come to the bridge where it's going across right there. But instead of going up and over back to our hub, we're going to instead drop down. But there is a spitter right there that we're going to need to take care of. So let's get our handy dandy rebar gun. 3 shots and he's done. Grab the remains and then turn around, and right over here underneath of the bridge right there you should see a node right here. For me it's CATERIUM. For you it could be quartz, coal, sulfur, could be anything really. As long as it's not uranium, what we're going to do is go ahead and get rid of this rock right here. And why do I say as long as it's not uranium? Because trust me, you don't want to chip away at uranium and get it in your pocket. I've done that. You're going to have a bad time. Hidden underneath of that little rock ore right there is a blue power slug that we're going to grab. Now, down here is also a coal node right here. Now, you feel free to grab some if you want. I'm not going to do so just yet. Going to leave it be for a while longer. What I am going to do, though, is make it easy enough to get down here. So, I'm going to place a 1 meter foundation kind of right there next to our other foundations there. And then from there, I'm going to zoom down on the edge of that so that the edge is on the bottom. It's kind of hard to get it from here. There we go. And then we're just going to zoom down a 4 meter ramp all the way down to here. Then we can just take our ramp back up to our hub. Once you're back at the hub, if your hard drive's still not done yet, take that time to go ahead and make all the leaves and wood that we found into biomass. Back over to our MAM once the hard drive is done, and that will put the recipe here into our hard drive library. Looks like for mine, I ended up getting bolted frame and iron wire. Bolted frame isn't too terrible. It does let us make modular frames out of screws and reinforced iron plates instead of the reinforced iron plates and the rods, at about 5 per minute instead of 2 per minute. However, I'm not a big fan of this one as it does require screws, and I try to stay away from recipes that require screws because that tends to get very messy really quick. It's really hard to make a ton of screws. They're a very high demand item. So if I can remove them from a recipe, I usually prefer to do that. That's just me though. For you, it may be the best recipe. The other one over here is being able to make iron wire. That is using iron to make wire instead of copper. That one's not too terrible. Instead of making 30 wire out of 1 copper ingot, it takes 5 iron ingots to make 22.5. So if you don't have a lot of copper, but you do have a lot of iron, this is usable, but it's not really the best, most efficient recipe. I'm not going to choose either one of these right now. I'm just going to leave them in there for the time being. Let's head over here to our smelter, and let's go ahead and pick up our CATERIUM ingots. Let's head back over to the MAM and CATERIUM research. Let's go ahead and research QuickWire now. Now we can make those CATERIUM ingots straight into QuickWire using a constructor, but it also unlocks another couple of things down here too. We can now do CATERIUM electronics. We can do the zip line, which is a really neat way to get around by using the power lines as zip lines, so you can travel back and forth via power lines. And the stun rebar. I'm going to pass on both of these right now. What I do want is CATERIUM electronics, but we are going to need 100 QuickWire for that. So let's go ahead, throw in another hard drive in here, get that to scanning. We're going to take that 10 minutes in order to go over here and build ourselves a constructor onto our CATERIUM network here. For our QuickWire constructor, I'm going to come down here to next to the smelter. Let's just bring it right over here, put it right in the middle of these foundations right here. Let's leave enough space in the back in order to have a conveyor belt to go into it. This looks fine to me. Then let's run a conveyor belt to come out of the smelter. Have it turn right here. We'll say right in the middle. So have it go to right about there. We'll then run a line from the constructor and connect it up to that line. And as you can see here, here comes our CATERIUM ingots right here. Let's attach a power pole to the wire and then connect it right behind the constructor right here. And then connect the constructor to the pole, giving it some power. All right, so now all we got to do is just select QuickWire as our recipe. And now we're going to take 12 CATERIUM ingots. We're going to make 60 QuickWire per minute. While we're over here, let's go ahead and throw all the CATERIUM we just gathered on our last trip over there into the box right here. Now I've still got about close to 7 minutes left on our hard drive. So what to do with all that time? I think it's best to take a trip over to the east, just past the giant arch rock right there. Let's make sure that we have plenty of space in our inventory though. So let's throw away anything here that we don't actually need. By throw away, I just mean put it in a box. And with plenty of space into our inventory, off we go to the east. Again, we're going to use this time to just collect more leaves and wood on the trip over there. We're just going to head straight up here behind the arch there. We're going to come across a copper node right here and 1 bull charger. After taking care of him, keep moving forward. You should see a giant gas rock right there in front of us. We're going to go to the right of that. should see like some purplish pink trees and a giant mountain in front of us. And then you're going to come across this huge giant crater right here. In the middle of that crater is a yellow slug. But there's also our very first alpha creature right there. That is an alpha charger right there. These things take a lot of hits, even with the rebar gun, and they do a ton of damage. So the best thing to do is either to avoid him, or if you really want to try to grab that slug, maybe try to find somewhere we can get where he won't hit us. We can also see if we can try to hit him from here too. A few well-placed shots, and I believe I actually got him. Oh yeah, he did. Let's grab our reward here of the yellow slug. And now we're going to go out of the crater to the east right there. And as we top the cliff, we have another crash site being guarded by a couple of chargers here. Make quick work out of those guys, and let's go ahead and pick up all of the extra stuff sitting around the crash site here. Nothing here out of the ordinary that we haven't seen yet. But when it comes to the actual drop pod itself, we don't need anything in order to open this. It just is going to open for us automatically. Let's grab that hard drive and make our way back over to our hub. Once back at the hub, come down here to our quick wire and let's grab a little stack of this. From there, back over to the MAM. I believe our research is now done on our hard drive. All right, so this time around, I ended up getting +6 inventory slots and fused quick wire. Fused quick wire ain't too bad. It lets us take copper and CATERIUM, and then we can make 90 per minute instead of just the CATERIUM to make 60. Again, though, I'm not going to touch these. I'm going to leave them in here into our library. Let's go back into the CATERIUM research node here, and let's go ahead and unlock CATERIUM electronics using 100 quick wire. Now we've unlocked 3 new things here in tiers. First one being Mark II power posts. So the Mark I power post allows us to connect up to 4 wires to 1 pole. The Mark II, we can connect 7 lines to 1 pole. That's a lot. So these things right here, absolutely fabulous. We've also got the high-speed connectors over here, but we need plastic to unlock that. We've not gotten that far yet. And then there are the AI limiters. This is the one that I think we should unlock right now at the moment. We need 200 quick wire and 50 copper sheets. Go ahead and research that. Now we have the option for another 3 things here. We can do power switches. We can do the smart splitters. And then down here on programmable splitters. Now, programmable splitters isn't really an option right now. We need 100 AI limiters, 50 heavy modular frames, which we're not even able to make yet, and 50 computers, something else we're not able to make yet. Power switches are good, but we still need steel in order to unlock those. So, the one thing that I'm actually looking for, and the whole reason for this episode, is the smart splitter. This is the one I want to unlock. This was our goal. So for this, we're going to need 50 reinforced iron plates and 10 AI limiters. Let's go ahead and make our 10 AI limiters real quick. We can do that over here on our crafting bench. Each AI limiter takes 20 quick wire and 5 copper sheets. I can make exactly 10 right now. Back over to the MAM, CATERIUM, scroll down, find the smart splitter again. Let's go ahead and start research on that. And now we have the smart splitter unlocked, which is going to make creating some advanced conveyor belt stuff really easy now. You will find the smart splitter underneath of the logistics tab in their building menu. And you can also get to it by just placing down our hotkey right here, and then that brings up our splitter. Hit E a couple of times and you get the smart splitter. In order to build these though, we need AI limiters, and I just used all of the AI limiters we had to unlock this. Luckily, we have plenty more quick wire over here, and we can just go ahead and grab some more of that. All right, let's make ourselves about 10 or so AI limiters. Let me place down a smart splitter here, and I'll show you how these guys work. So a smart splitter looks just like the splitters and the mergers, except they do have an advanced feature where we can actually kind of make them smarter by programming them somewhat. Although not as advanced as the programmable splitters, the smart splitters will let us go in here and we can actually choose all the outputs to what we want. So we have the input coming in like here. So I'll take a belt, put it there. We'll put a belt from here and one out the front. So we have the input and our 3 outputs. Now, coming from where our input going into the smart splitter is, we'll configure this. The center output, which is the front right there, we can say, I want, let's say we got a bunch of stuff coming down the line, like 3 or 4 different items, right? I can say I want one of those items, like biomass, going up the center output. To the left, I wanted to split off any barrel nuts, and to the right, Let's do alien protein. Now, I can't think of a single situation where you would have any of these going into a smart splitter, but this is a basic idea of how it's going to work. So let's say we got some iron rods that are coming into our smart splitter here. I want to have it where once we have so many iron rods that any extra, like once it starts to back up, is going to go, let's say, to the left. Where I would choose iron rod for our center output, and then to the left, I would choose overflow. And then what that will do is any extra that is backed up right here, the overflow of iron rods will now come out this side. I think the best way of showing you how a smart splitter works best is to actually put it into practice. So we're going to do that. But before we do, let's go ahead and throw one more hard drive here into our research map. Let's grab about 2 stacks of reinforced iron plates. Let's come down here to our logistics floor behind our storage boxes, and all of this right here where our iron stuff is coming in, we're going to start removing that. And starting right here where our screws are coming up, we are going to then take and place a row of smart splitters down through here. So like I said, our smart splitters have an input and 3 outputs. We want to line that up with the box right here and the screws coming in. So right there. And then we want to put more all the way down through here. And if you haven't done this yet, let's go ahead and go into our build menu. Let's go to logistics and let's set the Mark II as our hotbar button down there. So I'll just highlight the Mark II belt and then press the number 3, or whichever one was your Mark I conveyor belt, because we're going to be using Mark II belts for all of this right here. And then let's go ahead and connect up all of our smart splitters down through here and connect those to the storage boxes. Now we need to set up all of our smart splitters. So the first one right here, this box is for screws, so we're going to go and configure. Our center is going to be overflow, and to the left output, this is going to be screws. Our second box here is iron rods, so same thing, overflow for the middle. Iron rods will be to the left, and we're not setting anything up on the right. We're just going to leave that as none. Box 3 is our iron plates, so we'll set up iron plates to the left. Overflow in the center once again. And now our last box here is our reinforced iron plates. So for this one, it's going to be slightly different. So we'll put reinforced iron plates to the left. And then for this one, we're going to put none for the middle. And to the right is going to be overflow. Now my plan here is we're going to take all of our pieces coming in. The rods, the plates right here, and the reinforced iron plates. We're going to combine that all up with the screws that are coming out of here. And then they're all going to go through this smart splitters section right here. And the smart splitters are going to take all of those off and put them in the boxes. With anything that we have the boxes full, all that's going to be considered overflow. And it can come out this way, move around, and we're going to set it up to our sink up there to destroy. So overflow isn't just for like just something that, oh, well, it's full, so it's going to send the next thing. It's also for anything that's not considered what we are sending out of the other output. And that's why, like, this one's overflow, but this one's iron rods. So anything that's not an iron rod, plus any of the extra iron rods that can't go, are all going to be overflow. Hopefully that makes a little sense to you guys. You can go ahead and remove this foundation that's kind of in our way here. Let's bring a Mark II conveyor lift down this way, so that it's got facing towards our east right there. And a Mark II belt is going to go into here. Make sure your straight build mode is on. Now we need to fix all of this down in here. So what I think we should do, let's go ahead and start getting rid of these conveyor belts right here. That's all coming up this way, including the screws right here on the edge and coming out of the box right here. So we'll remove the box, remove the screws, get rid of the ones going into the Mark I lift right there. Let's get rid of all of this. I think I will leave my conveyor lift going up from, that's bringing our reinforced plates down. We'll probably leave that there. But other than that, I think everything else is going to go except for the screws and this line right here coming out that has the the plates right here. That's going up to our reinforced iron plates. I'm going to leave that there too. Alright, so this is now what we have down here on our logistics floor still left. We've got the merger taking the plates going across, like up and over, going into our assembler upstairs. We've got all the lifts coming down from our constructors upstairs, and everything having to do with screws is still intact. We're not touching that. I probably should put some foundations right here, though, over top of this cliff so that we don't accidentally fall down in there. Let's go ahead and put some walls up all the way down this side, too. There we go, and close that in. That's going to keep us from accidentally like, oh, I'm backing up, and now I'm falling. Oh, woe is me. All right, so we're not going to touch the screws at all right now at the moment. But what we do want to do is we want to come down here to where this merger is right here. I am going to take that out for the time being. I thought I was going to reuse it, but we're not. I will also go ahead and get rid of just a little piece coming up right here. Now let's go ahead and put mergers in front of all of these guys down through here. I'll keep everything lined up with the ones for the screws down here too, just so we can keep everything kind of feng shui. And then once we get down here to the last one right before the screws, this one's going to turn a little bit. So instead of having everything going down this way to the west, we're going to turn it so the output is going to the north. Then let's hook all of these up to our conveyor lifts and to each other. Now we're still going to keep the plates coming out this way. We're just going to have to move a splitter a little down here a little bit. So I'll just copy the merger, hit E to change that to a splitter. Let's put it right here in the middle. And then we'll just connect that onto the end of our belts right here. And while we're doing that, let's go ahead and upgrade this Mark 1 line to a Mark II. Let's upgrade our conveyor lifts as well. Now I did put a regular splitter in here, but you know what? Let's turn that into a smart splitter instead. So we'll grab the smart splitter, hold control, and we'll just convert that over. That way we don't have to delete it and then take out belts or anything. We just can just change it right into what we need. And let's configure this with overflow going up the center, and to the right, this is going to be the iron plates. So what this is going to do is it's going to take as many plates as it can possibly get and send all of those over across to our assembler, making the reinforced arm plates. Once the assembler gets full and the line down through here gets full, then the smart splitter is going to see that as being like, oh, I can't send anything else up that way. So let's go ahead and send the extra down the line, which is going to join in with our iron rods and everything down here, which we are going to bring out of this last merger right here. We're going to bring it, let's go all the way up to here, next to the screws in the middle between these two foundations, and we're going to have it go up that direction. We'll bring it all the way down here to kind of match up with where the assembler's output for the reinforced arm plates is coming down right there. So let's put that right about there. All right, so right here where we're going to need the screws to go into the assembler and go up the lift right there, let's put a smart splitter right here, match it up with where the line for our screws are coming up at. So we're going to be coming down this way. There we go. There's our lines. And we'll just turn that so we have the input for coming from the back of it. Let's go ahead and finish the screws going into the smart splitter we just made, and then into the conveyor lift going up. And now right in front of this smart splitter, we're going to put a merger right there in front of it with the output going into the smart splitter line we have built right there. So we'll just put it right in line here. So it'll come right out of that smart splitter right there. Let's run the belt from the smart splitter to the merger, and then let's connect the line, bringing the rods and plates up through here as well. Now we want to do one more merger right next to that, coming up this way, and the input going into that merger right there. So right there looks good. So now we can connect the iron rods and plates coming down through here, get those connected into that. And then the reinforced iron plates that are coming down, we'll connect that into the merger, connect these two mergers together, and then let's go ahead and run our line coming out of that merger going up into our smart splitter system. Just need to configure the smart splitter right here in front of the screws. So that's going to be screws going to the left and overflow going up the center. Now I'm not going to lie and say that this probably isn't going to be a little bit of a slow system starting off until we get a few more things put into everything. But for the time being, this does seem to work, and I very much like this. But hold up, you guys are probably asking, wait, what about all of the copper stuff coming down through here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a system very similar to how we did this one, but I'm not going to set it up in this episode. I'm going to wait until the next episode to do all of that. Today, I just want to concentrate on getting these smart splitters and then showing how those are all set up and how they can work. So hopefully I did a pretty good job of giving you a good tutorial on how to use the smart splitters. If you do have any questions at all, though, feel free to ask in the comments down below. I try to answer everything that I can. I also have a Discord, so if you want, you can always join the Discord, and if you have any questions about stuff, I'll be happy to answer there as well. And we also have other Satisfactory players in there too that can help. You'll find the link to my Discord in the video's description below. Let's go ahead and make sure, though, that our conveyor lift going up to the sink is a Mark II. That one is. Somehow, though, the one on top is not, so I'm going to go ahead and make that a Mark II. And the belt going into the merger is also a Mark II, so we're good. Let's go see what our last hard drive ended up being. Okay, so we ended up getting stitched iron plate and the copper rotor. The stitched iron plate, that's not bad because it ends up taking the screws out of the assembly. It does make 5.625 per minute. There is another alternate for the stitched iron plate, which I believe might make more per minute, but it does require a lot of screws. I think this is actually probably maybe the best alternate for iron plates right here. The copper rotor here also isn't terrible. The production rate on that is 11.25 per minute. The screws needed, though, my God, the screws. You're going to need more than 100 screws per minute in order to make this work. I do believe that this recipe is good. I just don't think it is the best, most efficient one. All right, so we've got one hard drive left. Let's go ahead, throw that into our scan. And that, my friends, is where I'm going to leave you for the day. All right, so right now I want to give a huge shout out to a few of my patrons. First up, a couple that have been with me for the longest, Raven Ravel and Dragon Mist. Thank you guys. And a couple of my newer patrons, Paul Murphy and Coconut. Thanks for joining my Patreon community. Very much appreciate it, and being one of the sponsors here for our video today. If you guys are interested in being one of my Patreon supporters, the link for my Patreon is in the video description down below. All Patreon donations do go towards basically keeping the lights on here. Though I don't have a whole lot of benefits that I can offer currently, one of the biggest ones that I do have is if you're a bronze member or higher, I do offer free downloads for every save file of the video series. Now that's going to do it for today's episode. Hope I've entertained you a little bit over the course of the video, and with any luck for the new Fix-It pioneers out there that's been watching, you've learned some useful information. If you are enjoying the series, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you aren't already, click the subscribe button so that you never miss a video of mine. For now though, thanks to everybody, and wherever you are in the world, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and I'll see you in the next video.